Welcome to Ask Ms. ERP. The topic of this video is what can go wrong with integrations? Hello everyone, Ms. ERP here. In my previous video, I talked about why integrations are important and provided some high-level guidelines to avoid pitfalls with your integrations. In this video, I am going to cover some common integration challenges and provide some advice on how to either avoid or fix these issues. I left off last time talking about processes. If you have well-documented and understood processes as part of a strong integration framework, that will enable you to deal with any issues that arise, as there will always be something new and exciting for you to resolve. New integration designs should go through some kind of approval process, both for meeting business requirements and for following technical standards and security policies. Without standards or best practices, you may end up with many point-to-point integrations, built by different developers, which will leave you with a spaghetti mess to look after in the long term. You may also want to consider creating an integration governance committee with key stakeholders who can facilitate communication and also help prioritize any issues or new integration initiatives. For both new integrations and any changes to existing integrations, you should have a standard deployment process, which defines what testing and approvals are required, along with any necessary communication that needs to occur. I recommend that you use the same processes for managing things like environment refreshes, outages, and any patching or upgrades which can impact integrations. If you are refreshing your test ERP environment with a copy of data from production, integrated systems may want to align their refresh timing so that any testing won't be impacted by a data mismatch. Similarly, if you are patching or upgrading your ERP, the integrated systems need to at least be informed so that they can do their own testing if necessary. The same works in reverse, as an upgrade in an integrated system may impact what data is being sent to the ERP. Again, good communication with all stakeholders will help avoid any nasty surprises. If an issue arises with an integration, it is sometimes difficult to know who is responsible for initial resolution and subsequent root cause analysis. Generally, any data issues should be resolved by the business data owners, and technical issues should reside with IT support. But it is sometimes not clear where exactly a problem lies, so it might take a collaborative effort to diagnose the situation. Defining clear roles and responsibilities for integrations, as described in the last video, will definitely help you get to a quicker resolution. Also remember that someone needs to take accountability for communicating the status of an issue, as there may be critical business processes waiting for a resolution. Along with processes, you need to define some naming conventions and set standards for error handling, transaction, and log retention. Hopefully, you have some security and access standards that can be used also. Good documentation for integrations will also help you resolve any issues more effectively. At a minimum, you need at least a master list of your integrations with source and target systems, along with key contacts identified. Ideally, you would also have the functional requirements and technical specs, which will need to be maintained when anything changes. So far, I have only talked in generalities and provided some tips to avoid having an integration mess to look after. There are also some very common design flaws that can cause lots of problems that I will share with you now in the hopes that you don't have to make the same mistakes. The first is quite obvious. The original design assumed that all transactions would be successful. This is a very unlikely scenario, and your design needs to take into account what to do in the situation when things do go wrong. And the more automation you can build in, the happier your users will be. There are degrees of failure that need to be considered. Probably the easiest situation to deal with is when an interface fails entirely. Perhaps the target system is down or some other technical issue. If no data has been sent, it is probable that you can just resend it once the issue is resolved. But you need to think about how your support teams will be notified of this situation. Likely your integration tool has the capability to send some kind of messaging. Do make sure that the messages are getting through to the right parties. I remember a situation where System A was sending to System B. System B reported an error to the integration tool, but that message was not sent back to System A to fix the problem. Also make sure the error messages are as specific as possible to help target the required analysis. Another type of failure is a partial transmission. This might be missing records or some records with specific errors. A little more tricky to deal with. If some data has been sent and processed, then you likely cannot just resubmit. It will take some analysis to figure out the right solution, which may or may not include a retry capability. A very simple control point that I recommend that you add to every integration is to have a count of records sent from the sending system compared to a record count of those received from the receiving system. Compare those two numbers, and if they don't match, you need to send an alert to investigate. If the integration is transmitting dollars or units or some other easily comparable data item, I recommend that you add that to your control totals checking. It is generally the sending system that is responsible for correcting their data, but you will need to provide them the appropriate alerts, reports, or tools to be able to correct the issues at source. Another situation that may arise is that sending and receiving systems do not use consistent key values, or key values in the right order. Some integrations may need to be run in a specific sequence, and if that gets out of whack, you will end up with some interesting challenges. If data dependencies do exist, you will need to design controls into your integrations to handle this situation. If you don't have the proper error messaging and data controls in place right in the integration, how issues will be found is by end users running reports in two different systems and noticing some inconsistencies. If this is how issues are discovered, you will be in for a painful analysis adventure to find the root cause of the problem. With proactive, well-worded alerts, you can fix things before you get to that situation. It is unlikely that you will design the perfect integration initially, so do not be afraid to go back and make corrections as you learn. It is much better to bite the bullet and fix the root cause issue properly, or you will compound your problems. I hope that some of the points I have covered here will help you avoid integration challenges. This concludes the What Can Go Wrong with Integrations topic. There is a link on askmizzyRP.com to email me to ask questions or suggest topics for future videos. Or you can just add comments on any YouTube video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and see you on the next video.